Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm John. This episode and every future episode is for all the horror hounds and smokers out there who want to expand their knowledge of the genre and have a good time.
Today we have special guest Linden Porco here with us. For those of you who aren't familiar with him, he recently played Leprechaun in the film Leprechaun Returns, which is undoubtedly the best film in the Leprechaun series since the original. He's going to spill his guts to us in an exclusive interview. All that and more today on High on Horror. Interviews, reviews, and the latest news rolled into one.
Now it's time to get the screening room. Well, we just got through episode 3 of Slasher Flesh and Blood from Shudder. And again, Drew and I don't talk about this really until we get on here. And I thought this episode at first, it kind of felt like a lit me up episode. But then the second half of the episode, shit happened.
Shit did happen. The end of that episode is fucking grisly and by far probably my favorite thing that has happened and my favorite kill that has happened on the show so far. But hold on, let's get back to something here. Dude, last week I told you it was 10 minutes in the cheeks were clapping. Cheeks clapping like opening scene, bro. Like I told you.
This is like the Jorge Masvidal KO on Ben Askren. I don't know how it can get any quicker in any other episodes than this. Like, this seems to be... I mean, it literally did start out with cheeks clapping.
It started with cheeks clapping, I told you.
And I want to say, you brought up the point about Vince McMahon last week. And I got to say, when Spencer, played by David Cronenberg, when he goes into his son Seamus's room and talks to him, it very much felt like that could have been a conversation Vince had with any of his kids about some decisions that they've made in their life.
I'm telling you, I know. I immediately thought of Vince McMahon when I saw the way that Cronenberg was carrying himself. But let's cut to the chase here. Here's the thing about this episode. We talked last week about how this to say that this family is dysfunctional is like a compliment. Well, now they're even more dysfunctional, and nobody fucking trusts anybody due to all these murders that are going on. So shit is just wild right now.
I actually forgot something I was going to mention until just now. I was going to say the mass killer possibly is in the running for one of the nicest people on the show at this point.
Yeah, it's almost as if the deaths are mercy. Mercy kills at this point.
Is there a redeemable person? I mean, I guess we shouldn't get into specifics, but...
At this point, yeah, I think that they showed us what there is to like and dislike about everybody. But my problem is I'm finding everybody fucking dislikable, which is why I think the kills are so badass, because you really don't care. So you're just watching
the kills are nice. But going back to that, I would have to say the people I find myself liking, and this should probably come as no surprise to anyone, are the people that are being the dicks. I mean, but the problem is everybody in the show's a dick. But it's just they're just all assholes.
There's different levels of dick.
There's different levels of dick. That's what she said.
No, you know what's funny about you saying unlikable characters? Maybe it's because I'm a Cronenberg fan, but I would say that Spencer, Cronenberg's character, is probably my favorite character because he's a dick, but at least he's upfront about it. All these other assholes in the family are fucking conniving bastards and cunts, dude. He was at least upfront about it. He's a harsh businessman. He's down to business. Everybody else is just untrustable as fuck.
Yeah, what did you think about the game this week? I still think last week's was more brutal, but this one definitely didn't look like fun either.
No, this one actually more, to me, I felt, unlike the other ones, this one felt very Saw to me. I don't know if you got that vibe at all,
yes,
but very Saw too.
Yes, I very much, that's, another thing that I forgot till you just mentioned it. It did very much have a Saw feel, that it needed to be more about teamwork and some people miss that concept.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I'm actually really looking forward to seeing, especially after the ending of the episode 3. I'm really looking forward to see what happens in episode 4 because there's 8 episodes in this season. So I'm just thinking, like, you know, how much crazier is it going to get? I mean, the body count's already piling up.
That, and I'll be honest, if we do have a winner of these games, it's not obvious to me. I think they've done a great job with that. There's nobody really that I see and 100% think, oh, they're going to be the one that maybe survives if they do.
Yeah, now I'm gonna say something here. I'm not gonna give nothing away, obviously, but I have a tendency, due to watching so many movies, that like I can kind of put things together, and I'm starting to gather a theory of who I think the killer is. Now, I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to tell the listeners, I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm just keeping this in the back of my mind, and if it plays into fruition, I'll make sure that I bring it back up and say without me saying details, I could just claim that whoever the killer is, I could just pop on and be like, yup, that's what I predicted.
That's what just went through my head. I was going to say, so in the end, you could go back and be like, yep, that's who I meant.
No, I'll be honest, but I'm thinking I know who it is, and if I'm right, it's kind of crazy, but yeah, let's just keep it on an episode by episode basis. And besides, it's all just my stupid ass theory anyway, so we'll see how it plays out.
I also have a theory, but we'll probably talk about this off air. But yeah, I have a theory too. But I am interested to see how the rest of the season's going to play out. We have, 5 more episodes to go?
Yeah, 5 more. Let's get to them.
And next week, on Monday, we'll let you know about episode 4. And then after that, we'll be halfway through the season.
Cool, man. I'm ready to smoke. Let's get into Strainwreck. And now it's time for Strainwreck, the segment where John and I discuss the strain that we're getting wrecked on this episode. Today, we're smoking peanut butter wafers. It's so fucking good. John, smell this shit. Look at it.
Alright, I got this bag here. It's got a lot of orange hairs on it. I see the peanut butter resemblance. It's kind of got that, like, dark, like, Reese's peanut butter cup color to it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Let me smell this. This shit kind of smells like Old Spice.
What?
I don't... Like, here, smell it. You don't think this smells like Old Spice a little bit?
No, dude, that's that earthy smell. It's got that nutty and earthy smell. It's not fucking Old Spice.
Old Spice earthy.
No, it's got that nutty and earthy smell, just like peanut butter breath. Maybe a bit stronger.
I mean, I kind of want a peanut butter cookie now.
We're probably gonna fuck up a lot of shit after this episode. I am high as shit. All right. Yeah, peanut butter wafers has more of a backbone than peanut butter breath. It's a hybrid, just like peanut butter breath. So this is gonna last the fuck out. John, I'm gonna spark us up. What do you got going on this week in horror history, brother?
This week in horror history.
Well, today, actually, the Return of the Living Dead celebrates its 36th anniversary. It was released on August 16th, 1985.
Do you ever fantasize about being killed? John, you know how big of a fan of this fucking movie I am. It's my favorite zombie film of all time. It's my favorite zombie horror film of all time. And you listeners out there, it was the first zombie comedy. The Return of the Living Dead has a little bit of everything that you could want in a horror film, a zombie film, and a comedy. I've been a fan since childhood, and let me tell you this, the movie ages like a fine wine. Absolutely one of my favorite horror films ever. The first horror convention that I ever went to, Tom Matthews and Linnea Quigley were the first people that I went up to before anyone else, because just getting my Return of the Living Dead poster autographed was just such a fucking bucket list moment for me, that like those were the people that I zoned to right away because I love that movie so fucking much. John, you got anything you want to say about this movie, or you want to save it for next week?
I mean, I got stuff to say, but what do you mean save it for next week?
Never mind. Move on. Let's move on. Never mind.
Okay. Well, I mean, the menu's actually still playing in the background right now. We just got done watching it before we recorded. Drew, I can see why you're such a fan of it. I love the designs of the zombie in the movie. The movie's just so ridiculous and over the top. The ending is very satisfying, though.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think that's all I'm going to say about it for now.
Okay. So why should I save stuff for next week?
You're gonna have to just trust me on this one.
Okay. I guess it's time to move on to Puff Puff Ask.
Yo, man. Puff, puff, pass.
My sister Tara actually texted me a question, so I'll lead with this one. Tara asks, are there any classic horror films that you and John feel deserve a proper remake? That question is fucking hard. I texted John that as soon as it was sent to me, and I knew that had to be one on this episode because immediately we started racking our brains, right, John?
Oh, for sure. And I feel like I at least on my list have a remake that's already been remade, but I still think they should redo it.
Well, yeah, that question is hard. Like I said, it's a lot to think about, but off the top of my head, I think that Salem's Lot deserves a remake. I love the original TV film with Barlow, and he looks scary as shit. He looks like Nosferatu. But I think that that deserves a remake because it's nothing like the book. The book is actually like a much more Dracula-esque character with black hair and a cape and a medallion and a white shirt and shit. And in the movie, he was just more of like just like a bald, scary vampire. So I think that deserves more of a faithful adaptation. And I think that Maniac Cop would be good for a remake because it's even more relevant today than it was back then when it came out in 1988. And I've heard this and that about a remake back and forth over the last couple of years, but nothing concrete lately. I love Maniac Cop. It's a great film by William Lustig. I love that movie. The effects and social commentary could use a proper update, though, if I'm being honest, and if it was done right. And I'm a big fan of Juan Piquer Simone's Pieces. That's a brutal movie, as is, but if it was taken a bit more seriously as a modern film, it'd be very disturbing, kind of like with Maniac. You could take a gritty, nasty movie and make it a gritty, nasty movie that's poignant.
True. I know for my list, I have Black Christmas. I know there was an '05 one and the most recent one, but none of them are remakes of the original Black Christmas. And the new one, a lot of people say I don't like it for politics, Nicole, but it's not even close to the original story. It's a completely different movie. I don't think you've seen it, right, Drew?
I got about 20 minutes into it and just saw what it was. I just, I'm just not a fan of the direction it was going in. It was obviously, trying to make more of a political and gender statement than just be a fun slasher movie. And I'm just tired of all the agendas being pushed on everybody, honestly.
And even with that would have been fine if it was its own movie and called something else and not called Black Christmas.
Correct.
It has
Correct.
Literally nothing to do with the original Black Christmas. It's not even the same. The original Black Christmas, if you haven't seen it, it's closer to it's a typical slasher movie. It came before Halloween, but it's similar to Halloween in a lot of respects. And this movie was nothing like it. '05 was more of like a backstory, but if you could properly redo Black Christmas, I feel like you could the cinematography could definitely be improved from the original, and I feel like you could make a solid movie for what it is, but I don't know why every time they attempt it, it's just something completely different.
Yeah, especially if they, even if they updated it, like not even trying to do like a throwback type of movie. If they updated it and did like the Black Christmas the way it was then, Now, with some random dude fucking in some sorority house, killing these women off, these girls off for no reason, hiding out in the house, if that were done right, that could be really fucking creepy, especially using, modern technology, like we have cell phones and stuff. That could be a really clever story, like a way of how to go around that, how to have this Billy character living in the house and stalking these women and doing these and getting around doing that in modern day. I think that would be a great story. Instead, you have everybody just saying, let's use the fucking title because it's a popular movie, and then doing whatever the fuck they want with the story. Like you said, this new one, I told you, I can't really talk too much about it because I gave up on it. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and trash it, but what I saw, I did not like. In the 2005 one, they got a lot right, believe it or not, but they just went too fucking weird with it. Like, it just went really fucking weird.
Yeah, I could keep talking about that, but I'll move on to my other one. And here we are talking about Italian horror again. 1960 Italian Gothic horror, Black Sunday. If you're not familiar with it, it's loosely based on the short story Vi, and it takes place in Moldova. And it tells the story of a witch who was put to death by her brother, only to return centuries later to seek revenge upon his descendants. It's a precursor almost to the spaghetti westerns and giallo. It didn't do well originally in Italy. It did well here in France. And like I said, I'm not familiar with any remakes of this, and I feel like it could be well done. Hopefully, it's not like the Suspiria remake.
Yeah, man, I love Mario Bava's work too. I'm a big fan of his. A Bay of Blood, Hatchet for the Honeymoon, Shock, $5 for an August Moon. He's done so many good fucking movies. I think that as long as somebody's willing to step into those shoes and fill in the cinematography and the framework and the pacing of the way he was able to do his movies, I think that really a lot of his movies could be remade and done well if the person remaking it put as much effort into it as he did.
Mm-hmm. And getting to our second question here, Tom from Lake City, Tennessee wants to know if there's any modern horror films that disturbed us enough to make us look away from the screen or stop the movie. I don't think there's anything that's made me stop the movie. That's not me bragging that I can handle stuff, but one that did fuck with me is when we were over your father-in-law's house, was this about 5-6 years ago? Mm-hmm. I watched Sinister. I don't know if the surround sound added to it.
Yeah, they had just put that new surround sound system in.
Yeah, that was creepy as shit, and it's still creepy. That's really, I think, about the only one off the top of my head I could really think of.
The Conjuring 1 and 2 had some pretty good jump scares, and ones that even weren't jump scares, ones that were just lasting scares that make you think after the movie was over. I got a little creeped out a couple of times from both Conjuring films, the first two, but nothing that really made me like look away, so to speak. But I will say that the one film in recent memory that when that question comes up about like, is there a movie that you can't watch or look away from, it's always August Underground's Mortal. That movie is fucking horrid. Like it was filmed in very low budget quality to look, like a snuff film, and believe me, they fucking succeeded. It's just these three people just go around just randomly killing people or throwing up on people, cutting them open and fucking their guts. It's just like really bad. It's done in such a realistic way that it's just uncomfortable to watch. Like there's, look here, I'm gonna say it. Okay, there's movies like a Serbian film where there's still a level of enjoyability to it. Despite how hardcore it is and fucked up it is, there is still a level of enjoyability to it because it's a movie. Even if you're disturbed by it, it's a fucking movie. That's the point. And you have all these people out there that are like, oh, you're a pedophile if you like a Serbian film, and let's know the fuck you're not. The movie does not support pedophilia. It shows you what a horrid and disgusting and despicable fucking thing it is. And people can still find enjoyment in that movie because it is just that. It is a movie, and it is not promoting anything disgusting. It shows it, but it is not fucking promoting it. But then there's films like Mortal that they do not come off like a movie at all. There's no entertainment value. There's no production quality. It just looks like you're watching this shit actually happening, and it is just very unsettling. I've never watched it again. It's the only film of the movies like that, like Necromantic and a Serbian film and Salo. It's the only movie that I've never rewatched after it's disturbed me. It was too much for me.
It's funny. I was going to bring up a Serbian film. I was going to say that was rough the first time around watching a Serbian film.
But yeah, hold on. So going back to Tara's question, I just want to say one thing here before we move on. Leave Eyes Without a Face the fuck alone. Do not touch that movie. Georges Franco's Eyes Without a Face has yet to be fucked with either a remake or prequels or sequels, and it better stay that way. That's my favorite black and white movie of all time, and it's perfect. So do not fucking remake that movie. That is one movie that I do not want to see get remade. But I thought real quick, John, before we move on, let's do something fun. I'm going to shoot off a couple movies to you, and you tell me if you think that they should be remade or not. And if you have anything, that you want to shoot back at me, let's just see how this goes, okay?
All right.
Let's do it. All right. So look, Prom Night, Halloween, Amityville Horror, Black Christmas, as you mentioned, Poltergeist, all of these, April Fool's Day, Carnival of Souls, Nightmare on Elm Street, these are all terrible fucking remakes. So let's name off some movies that haven't been remade, and let's see if you think they would be good to remake. They Live.
I want to say yes, but I feel like they wouldn't do it right, so I'm going to say no. I feel like it's definitely a movie that could be remade, but I don't think they would do it right.
I don't think it would have the balls it needed to have in today's day and age to pull it off.
I agree. I got one for you, Reanimator.
That one's tough because it's like, it's so perfect the way it is, but it was such a small budget, like, they made it work, but like with a big budget and better effects, you got to think that no, I can't do it. I can't. I was trying to talk myself into it. No, I can't do it. Can't. No, don't remake it. Don't do it.
I would lean towards yes.
You're gonna say you remake it?
For all those reasons, I feel like a bigger budget would make it amazing.
But no Barbara Crampton, man.
Or Jeffrey Combs. That's fair.
All right. Well, what about Night of the Creeps with Tom Atkins? Can we have a Night of the Creeps remake without a Tom Atkins character? Or I mean, there could be a Tom Atkins character, but without Tom Atkins, would it work?
No. Tom Atkins fucks.
Indeed, he does.
It's the mustache, man.
You got one for me?
Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah. A lot of those kills are off screen, like the bee kill and everything. I can see that being remade. That would be a great like summer slasher. I think as long as they didn't go like Fear Street with it and kind of like teen it up and prep it up and kind of take it as a serious slasher film, make it a little realistic, maybe even do like actual like younger kids to make it, But the ending, I don't know how it's gonna go over in today's with today's audiences. I mean, I think they might have to do a little bit tweaking, But yeah.
Yeah, that's true. The ending could be problematic. I would say yeah. I kind of put it in when like people were upset when they remade Jason, but not when they remade Halloween, and I was the opposite on that. I'm like, Halloween's perfect. Jason's just Jason. You could remake that, and I don't feel like you're gonna mess up the mythology. It's so the whole story itself doesn't make a whole lot of sense, so I was okay with it. And it's weird that the hatred was opposite for those movies.
I agree. I liked Friday the 13th a lot more too. What about Nightbreed?
No.
I agree.
No.
Clive Barker masterpiece, leave it alone.
How about Chud?
Okay. I used to love Chud. And I had it on Blu-ray. I had an Era Video Blu-ray. It was very nice, and I actually gave it to my friend Ryan because I watched Joe Bob host Chud on The Last Drive-In on Shudder, and he just fucking picked that movie apart and literally talked me out of liking the fucking movie. So I was like, you know what? This movie fucking sucks. So yeah, remake it, dude.
I agree. I love Chud too. It was another movie I watched with my dad, and then same thing. I watched The Last Drive-In, and I was like, damn, Joe Bob's making a lot of solid points. So yeah, I'm going to go yes on that one. And here's another one. Carpenter's Prince of Darkness.
I love that movie so much. It's really hard for me to say yes to a remake, I guess. I'm not going to say there are things about it that couldn't be done better. I think it would have my blessing if it had the proper director and writer and people behind it. That's my best answer.
Yeah, it's always hard to replace Donald Pleasance in anything. But I feel like the story works just as well in today's time as it did back then. But I feel like it's always hard to try to remake a Carpenter movie. I would, as much as I think a remake could be good, I would say no.
Well, speaking of remakes that are like probably a no, what about Jaws? That one comes up a lot. I keep seeing people bringing up a Jaws remake, and I'm like,
I would be okay with it. I feel like you could do the effects better. I mean, you could probably get more of the shark in the movie.
yeah. I mean, it's one of those ones that like I kind of like. I guess I'm just apprehensive towards remakes, and that's my problem. Where it's like, if you brought it to me and it were done, like the movie was done, and I watched it and I enjoyed it, it would have my blessing. But going into it, I'm just so apprehensive about like, I just don't know if people would do the right things in these movies to make them. I just feel like everything's so commercial and aimed towards audiences nowadays that it's not like what it needs to be. Jaws is a really tough one. I'm gonna say no on that one.
That's fair. Let me see. I had another one here. What about House?
Ooh. House is comedic genius, horror comedic genius, but I think that if it stayed true to the point again and didn't try to get too political and be too much of a social commentary and be too deep and everything and just didn't take itself seriously and was a very light and funny movie with some good scares, I think it could be a good remake. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. And the last one, TV movie, The Night Stalker, with is it Darren McGavin? I think I'm saying his last name right.
Yeah. That's another one. That's it's been a long time since we've seen any Night Stalker stuff, so I definitely think that doing that now and doing it in a modern fashion would be good. I think it would also be good to bring some spotlight to the old Night Stalker and kind of I don't think too many people know about that. You don't really see it getting brought up a lot, so I definitely think that that would be a cool remake. All right, I have one for you. How about this? The Lost Boys. I know you're not a fan of The Lost Boys, so I mean, I love The Lost Boys. You know that, but do you feel The Lost Boys would be good to have a remake of, or leave it alone?
First, going back to Night Stalker, I just want to comment on that. I'm for a remake. I've kind of the same way when they remade it. It was a TV movie. Also, it was a long time ago. The budget they could bring to it now, I think, would be better. But sometimes that isn't always the solution. But I would be in favor of a remake for that. The Lost Boys. I'm a fan of the Lost Boys. I just wouldn't say I'm on the same level as you as a fan of the Lost Boys. It's not my personal favorite vampire movie. I would say it's top 3 though. But I don't think you should remake that.
Well, actually, hold on. Your favorite vampire movie is Fright Night. Now, you've mentioned that several times. Did you like the Fright Night remake with Colin Farrell?
Not particularly.
No. Okay. So that's why you're like, leave the Lost Boys alone. You've already been let down once.
And I like Colin Farrell, but I don't know. Chris Sarandon just brought something to the role of Jerry. Yeah, and I would say I would put Lost Boys at 3. Number 2 for me is probably Near Dark for vampire movies, but I would leave all of those alone.
All right. Well, all you listeners out there, if you have any questions for us, reach out to us via Instagram or social media at highonhorror420 or email us at highonhorror420@gmail.com. Make sure and subscribe to our newsletter if you want the most up-to-date information on this podcast. And that was a cool puff ass. That was a good discussion. Now it's time to get into our discussion/review of Leprechaun Returns.
Leprechaun Returns came out in 2018 and takes the same approach as Halloween 2018 and ignored all the other films in the series. Lila Jenkins, played by Taylor Spritler, arrives in Devil's Lake, North Dakota to help a group of girls greenify an old house owned by their sorority. Lila hitches a ride with Ozzie Jones, played by Mark Holden from the original Leprechaun. He learns that Lila was Tori Redden's daughter, who was played by Jennifer Aniston in the OG. He finds out that Tori died the previous year from cancer after they were unable to get her for the movie. Ozzy gets sprayed with some green mist, and then the leprechaun, played by today's guest, Linden Porco, is reborn. He's back, he's pissed, and he wants his damn gold back.
I just said I wouldn't lay a hand on you. I never said I wasn't going to kill you. My accent's terrible. But Leprechaun Returns is a real breath of fresh air into the series, dude. You know that I gave up on the series after the second one, Leprechaun 2, and then several years ago on St. Patrick's Day, you convinced me to watch the third film, and I really liked it. It is really entertaining, and then they went to shit again. They went to space, and then they went to the Hood twice. And then in 2014, that fucking dreadful reboot, Leprechaun Origins, came out and promised to revitalize the series, but it failed like the bastard cash-in film that it was. I personally thought that the series was done after that fucking fiasco, but then Steven Katansky of The Void fame and most recently Psycho Gorman used his wit to bring the Leprechaun back to life in an actual successful way that was fun like the first film. It's not as good as the first film, but it's definitely the closest. It's damn good. Linden Porco fucking kills it. He looks incredible, carries himself perfectly. He has the accent down pat. The humor's on point. The gore and effects are well done. I walked away from this movie smiling, and I've watched it several times now. I don't think I've even watched Leprechaun 3 more than twice, so I have to say that, to me, this is easily the best and most important Leprechaun film that we've had since the original in 25 years.
I've definitely watched Leprechaun 3 more than twice. It's the best sequel, not including Returns. I think Returns and 3 are about the same for me. But I wanted to touch on the Leprechaun in space just real quick. Which one do you think is worse, Jason X or Leprechaun in space? Which is the worst space of those two movies? Space movie.
They're both terrible, but I gotta say, Leprechaun, because there's a scene where the Leprechaun becomes like huge.
I know what
you know what I'm talking about? He's like fucking gigantic and everybody else is small, and the CG or whatever, the fucking green screen is so bad. So just for that reason alone, I'm gonna have to go Jason X, because at least Jason X had a decent fucking kill.
But hear me out. Leprechaun 4's got a lightsaber.
Well, I mean, the last time I checked, having a lightsaber didn't save a film, especially a Leprechaun movie. We just talked about Jason X a few episodes ago, and believe it or not, you actually have me cornered where I'm actually going to side with Jason X.
You're welcome. It's one of the few times anybody would side with Jason X for anything.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so what's your favorite scene from Leprechaun Returns?
Give me in the middle of a hit, goddamn. I would have to say I gotta imagine it's probably yours as well. The Ozzy death scene where he comes out of Ozzy. Spoiler alert, but that's definitely my favorite kill.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I like when he gets when there's like fucking like 12 of them running around the room as well. It's pretty entertaining.
Yeah, I enjoyed that as well. Yeah, it had a nice updated feel. I wish, well, I guess we do have Ghost Ozzy, but I wish that his physical body would have played a bigger role in the movie. And I think Linden Porco does a great job as the Leprechaun. He still has witty lines. He's still funny as hell.
Well, here's a question for you. Where do you think the Leprechaun series goes from here? Obviously, fans were satisfied with this one, so do you think, are we going to see another Leprechaun several years down the line with a new person playing Leprechaun, or do you think that this one was successful enough that we're going to get another one with the same cast and crew and stuff?
The only way I would see the role of Leprechaun changing, because I think Linden did an amazing job, would be as if Warwick Davis came back. I know he said he turned down the role because he has kids now, and he doesn't want to work in horror as much until the kids get older, but he did say at some point he would like to come back. That would be the only reason I see it changing, because I think Linden should continue keeping the role as long as he wants to do it.
Yeah, I was going to say that regardless of who picks up the film directing, I think that we have our new Leprechaun. I think Linden's going to he's going to have this role for a while as long as they keep making the movies. I don't think that after what he pulls off in this movie, they're going to be in any rush to try to get a new Leprechaun. I think that they have him.
I agree. And I mean, you can talk about the directed. You can even go back to Warwick's movies, where a lot of those movies are not great, but Warwick is amazing in them. And I feel like it would almost be the same thing. You could have that kind of maybe not as great director-wise, and I still think that Linden would do an amazing job as Leprechaun.
Yeah, like regardless of how ludicrous or out there or stupid, dare I say, the story gets, as long as Linden brings the performance he brought in Leprechaun Returns, you'll get a good performance out of it that's humorous, and it will probably sell the whole damn movie.
And what did you think about the weakness being iron in this movie?
It didn't bother me as much, I think, because they pulled it off with with really good effects. I think I could see like it had been a problem if the effects weren't done so well, but I thought that it worked really well. Looked at the way that they pulled it off and the way that the effects looked. I have no problem with it.
I liked it as well, and I mean, in the original one, I mean, the clover leaf, it literally had a light shine on it. So, I mean, you can't really pretend like the original was amazing, but
They all have their flaws. You're not going to go into any Leprechaun
have their
movie.
flaws, some more than others. I would say this one less so than a lot of the others.
Agreed, 100%. Like, they all have their flaws. You're not going to go into this movie with everything being perfectly edited and the acting being Oscar-winning performances. You are going to be entertained, though. And honestly, if you go into any movie like that, like Leprechaun or anything, looking for more, it's like this. Kevin S. Tinney's Night of the Demons, the poster, has Angela on it, and she's all possessed and fucked up looking. If you're listening to this podcast, hopefully you know what I'm talking about. She's all fucked up looking, all possessed with sharp teeth, and she has this invitation, and it says, you're invited to Angela's party. And Kevin Tinney put that on the poster full blast because he said that he wanted the people, the fans, to know by the poster what they were getting into. If you like the poster, you're going to like the movie. If you don't like the poster, you're not going to like the movie. And that's kind of how I feel about Leprechaun. I feel the people who watch the Leprechaun movies and then like are harsh on them and criticize them are fucking idiots, because like you should know what you're getting into with a Leprechaun movie. What Leprechaun movie ever took itself seriously to the point of like asking for critical acclaim?
That's fair. I was gonna say the first, in my head, I start going, well, the first one took itself seriously, and then two scenes pop in my head, and I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. The one where they throw the shoes and he just can't help but go do it, where he can't help but go shine them, and when he goes by on the skateboard in the original one, that one was ridiculous.
I was gonna say when he's driving alongside the cop. That's what gets me.
That was another one. And I think with that, now it's time to get on the Burn and Learn, the segment of our show where we like to fill you in on some cool trivia facts about our episode's topic. In this case, Leprechaun Returns.
Oh.
Burn and learn.
All right, John, for this first Burn and Learn, actually, I wanted to ask you this because in your synopsis, you had mentioned that Jennifer Aniston decided not to be in the movie or turned down the role. I've actually heard two things, and I'm unsure which to believe. I've heard that Jennifer Aniston says that she nor any of her other co-stars from Leprechaun were contacted to return. If that is true, that's false because Mark Holton came back, obviously as Ozzy. But honestly, I don't see Jennifer returning to the Leprechaun series. If I'm honest, I think Jennifer's a little too bougie now to do these movies. But then I also heard that she was asked to reprise the role of Tori Redding and straight turned it down. And so the production reached out to Heather McDonald to imitate her voice. So which do you think is more likely?
I could see it being a combination of things. I mean, obviously, they were contacted to return because Mark Holden came back, like you said. I could see them trying to reach out to Jennifer and maybe just a manager or somebody just being like, I'm not even passing this along to her. I mean, it was a straight to video release. And like you said, I don't see Jennifer Aniston being priced in the range to do that. So, I mean, it could be possible she turned it down. I could also, like I said, see a manager or somebody just not even passing it along because it was something they would think would be beneath her.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And also, Aniston did congratulate director Steven Katansky for continuing the original storyline.
Yeah, and the film was filmed in Cape Town, South Africa.
Besides Warwick Davis, Mark Holden is the only actor from the original film to be in a sequel.
Director Steven Katansky said that for this film, he wanted a Bride of Chucky type of situation where, like Chucky, the leprechaun is hard to look at, but it is very much its own movie.
Linden Porco, our guest, worked on the Wayans brother movie Little Man as the baby Calvin.
I fucking love Little Man, dude. Everything the Wayans do, if I'm honest.
I don't know. I feel like they've got maybe went a little too far with the parody movies. Like, I mean, they did a dance movie, and I think they're behind the Haunted House series as well.
Yeah, I liked both of the Haunted House movies. If I'm honest, the only Wayans Brothers movie that I don't like is White Chicks. And everybody's always like, even my wife is always like, what? You don't like White Chicks? And I'm like, no, that's the only one. Like, I prefer raunchy humor. I'm all about scary movie and Haunted House and stuff like that.
I mean, I love the scary movie series too. But I mean,
at least the first two, anyway, right?
Yeah, that's fair. But I mean, I definitely I do like White Chicks. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, but then again, you like Mean Girls. I mean, that's your fucking movie.
That is true. I do love Mean Girls.
No, I appreciate that about you. You got a little bit of romance to you, where like you're a horror guy, but you can kick back and watch, Mean Girls and shit like that, and White Chicks,
I guess it's romance. I don't know.
It's your version of romance. It's as romantic as you get.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, like I said, the Wayans Brothers movies, I like the scary movie. Once they went into the dance movies, I haven't seen the Haunted House movies. Maybe I'll give them a try.
I mean, they're definitely not as funny as Scary Movie 1 and 2, but they're raunchy enough that they tickle me. They make me laugh for sure. I think, maybe when we're done wrapping up this episode, we'll check them out. We'll roll a couple more up and watch them or something. All right. I guess now it's time to talk to our guest, Linden Porco. He's had roles in Little Man, Channel Zero, The Pinkertons, Cult of Chucky, and he redefined the Leprechaun character. Welcome, Linden Porco. Thank you for being on High on Horror.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you again for joining us here. And going into Leprechaun Returns, were you a Leprechaun fan of the series before you accepted the role?
So I actually didn't watch the previous Leprechauns before I got the role. But I was always kind of scared of horror as a kid. That was one thing where me and my buddies would always, they'd always tease me about and try to get me to go to the theater and see. One of the movies was Ouija, and I just remember, I was sitting at the movie theater, and I would put my sweater over my eyes at a certain point because I was just scared shitless of horror. Truly, I would have nightmares as a kid. I just didn't like it. It wasn't for me. But then going further with my acting career, horror seems to like me, and now I love horror. So yeah, it's always a good time.
So that's definitely changed for you now since you've been in a horror movie. Horror's better for you now.
Yeah, definitely. I can tell when, there's certain things that are, not real, as well as, blood and guts and all that stuff, comes out. I can see it through just my past experiences as well as being in the industry as well. And I kind of enjoy watching it because, horror seems to, come and attract to me in my career, and I love it now. It's such a great genre, and personally, before I think it's underappreciated, especially in movies. Like I don't even think like with the Oscars, there's no horror genre to give an Academy Award, from what I can remember. So I think it definitely, hopefully one day should be in a category because it takes a lot of people and a lot of skill, and it is something that is definitely just underappreciated.
We definitely would agree with you about it being underappreciated. For Leprechaun, did you do anything to prepare for the role to get into character in any way?
Yeah, so with the auditions, I actually was listening to an Irish podcast to try and get the accent down as best as I could. So that is something that I did um, before the part in order to best, you know, get into the role of the leprechaun. Um, I tried to listen to YouTube videos to try and figure out how they would say certain things, and I sort of use that and put it into something that created the leprechaun as me, as well as trying to stay focused on what the franchise is about.
And did you have a favorite kill from the movie? I know mine is where you used the dude's drone against him and decapitated him.
Yeah, so everybody has a different favorite kill that they have that they like. I personally think each kill is so unique that it's great in each of their own ways. Um, Obviously, the Aussie kill was something that was just it was so good and so well done. That is something that always like sticks in my head. Uh, another one that I really enjoy was the sprinkler. The sprinkler was something that they actually reshot because the first time, I guess Stephen kind of didn't like the way that it turned out a bit. It was still great. I remember watching it, but then they ended up reshooting it again, I believe. And I mean, thank God they did because that was just it was so cool. It was so cool to watch that back when they did it. It was pretty awesome. I remember being on set and the guy showed me the song that was going to be played while I was shooting the sprinklers at her, and I was like, okay, I can get into this. This is absolutely the best song for it, and yeah, it worked out great.
Did you have any favorite lines from the movie at all?
Favorite line is the golden shower one is pretty gold. I'm not gonna lie. That one was when I read that and I first said it. I was like, okay, this is yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. How did you end up getting involved with Cold of Chucky?
Well, basically, a casting director in Winnipeg um, reached out and just said, "Hey, they need a body double for Cult of Chucky. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely. Whatever they need me to do." Didn't really know what it entitled me to do, kind of thing. But going there and seeing what they wanted and just me, you know, being it was more like of a shadow and feet running across the floor. Um, if they use that or not, I don't necessarily know, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, just to be a part of that incredible franchise with Don Mancini and what he's done with his career and whatnot, it was. I mean, I still at that point wasn't super involved in the horror community and didn't really truthfully understand what Chucky means and what it does for horror. So just being a part of that and looking back on it now, and like truly thankful for that. That was definitely a part of me that I'm just like wow, just thinking back on it for sure.
And now being involved in both of those franchises, if it came to a fight, who do you think would win between Leprechaun and Chucky?
See, I know that is something that I personally want to see. I think that would be awesome, but I also want to see them team up. I think them teaming up and like taking on the world would be amazing. So, who would win? I think Leprechaun would win with his magic, but I also think that Chucky would be so sneaky and just attack with so many different ways that it would be hard for the leprechaun to, figure out what to do with Chucky.
Well, I fucking love Leprechaun's Returns, man. I think you did such an amazing job as the Leprechaun. I know Stephen Katansky said that you absolutely killed your audition, and he said that you were fun and sinister, bright and energetic, and that you embodied his new version of the character. And we completely agree. But you said that you were scared of horror, so you came at this without drawing any inspiration from Warwick Davis, because that's really impressive if you just did that on your own.
Well, first, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't watch any of the Leprechauns growing up. Like I said, I was truthfully scared shitless of horror, so I wasn't wanting to see any of that growing up. I did end up when we were actually down in South Africa about to film, watch the first Leprechaun in order to make sure that I was fresh on a sequel to it, as well as understand what Warwick Davis did with Leprechaun as well. I also, but personally, what I drew from the Leprechaun when I first read the audition and knowing about it, obviously because it is the Leprechaun, um, I drew from it Ledger's Joker. That's who I kind of based it off of, in the sense of having that free spirited, wanting to kill, doesn't matter who you are. This is this is me. Now you're gonna die.
Well, you looked fantastic. The makeup looked amazing. How was that makeup process? Did it take long? Was it grueling?
Um, so the first time they did it, it took 7 hours. We actually filmed. So the first time they did it, we filmed the trailer um, of Leprechaun Returns, and so that was their first time putting it on me. So it took 7 hours. So every 2 hours to 3 hours, I think it was. I would get out of the chair, go for a walk, and see myself transform into the leprechaun piece by piece. But then they ended up getting down to 3 hours. But I mean, truthfully, putting on that makeup was, looking back on it was a complete breeze. It was so smooth. It was so much fun being in the chair with them. They were absolutely fantastic. They treated me like gold, and it was just an overall just a great experiences. And I miss being in the chair with them. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, like I said, you looked amazing, and the effects in that movie, just in general, looked amazing. The scene where you kill Ozzy, that was filmed in two ways. One where it was a prop body of Ozzy and you in the stomach, and then the other with Ozzy, um, and like a fake you. So did you guys actually get to like work together during that kill? Like, were you on set together, or was that filmed like 2 different days?
No, we were on set together that day. I think that was the first day. That was the first day of filming, actually, where they did that. So we were in the same tent or whatever it was. So we got to talk a bit and just get to know each other even more than we already did previous. But no, it was great to talk to him and work with him, and to see what he did with his death and my kill. It was awesome to be there and watch the playback and to see it all come together. It was really an intense process of what actually happened on the first day, and that's when I kind of realized that this is going to be something really special. And from that moment on, I was like, okay, like this is game time. Let's go, and let's just keep going until we can't go no more. So much fun that day, as well as every other day after that as well. But that day was something that I will always remember. And it was so cool because what they did was they dug a hole in the ground, and then they put his fake body on top. And I was in there, and what they tried to do was actually have me like actually pop out, but the hole wasn't necessarily deep enough for me to do that. So I just kind of crouched, and then I jumped up and popped out to make it more of like basically a pop of me coming out of the stomach. So I think it turned out great. Then they had the fake intestines, and they had all the blood and all that stuff. So and I loved it that Steven was right there in it. Hands covered in blood, putting stuff on, making sure it looked good. So yeah, that was also amazing to me to just see the director, be so hands on and involved in that process. It was awesome.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Stephen Katansky. I just saw Psycho Gorman. I thought it was amazing. I think he's a very good director, and I saw he does makeup effects and stuff. So that is good to have a director that will get his hands dirty and stuff. Someone that's
Yeah.
not too bougie to get from behind the camera. I definitely appreciate that as well. But so Mark Holton, he's played Ozzy for about he hasn't consistently played the part, but he's played Ozzy for 25 years. And you step into the role of the Leprechaun, and you get to kill that character off after 25 years. How does that feel?
Yeah, not really thinking too much of it at the time, and still not thinking too much of it until you asked the question. I mean, I think that was always his goal, is to just kill that motherfucker. Just want him to die, all right? Can you just die already? Basically, is what, Leprechaun is thinking. Why are you still alive? And then I get to do it in a pretty spectacular fashion. So that, yeah, it definitely feels good. Obviously, I don't want to kill Mark Holton because he's amazing. But, to kill Ozzy, I mean, yeah, that as in itself was just, you know, it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, I can't really think of a better way for him to go out. I definitely think that was a fitting ending. I mean, he went out in brutal fashion, but it was also very funny and gory. So he
Hmm.
went out. I think he went out, but he went out on top.
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
absolutely.
I met you at New Jersey HorrorCon, and if I recall correctly, that was your first con appearance. Did you find that the fans embrace you as the new Leprechaun, and do you plan to do more conventions in the future now that like the COVID restrictions are being lifted?
Yeah, that was my first HorrorCon. You know, that was also something that was amazing to me, and to see all these people come together and embrace horror music, you know all these WWE, like all these things coming into one, and just having just a big celebration and party, and to enjoy each other's company and whatnot. That was awesome, and it was so heartwarming. I was not expecting, too many people to come to my table and come say hi, or want an autograph or all that stuff like that. So when people came in and wanted that, that was you know that's something that's it's very nice and heartwarming to me, and I can't thank the fans enough for accepting me as the Leprechaun, because I know that it's hard to see Warwick Davis not in that role, because he did it for so long and was so great at it. But for the fans to accept me, I just all I can say is thank you.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that it's really hard to believe for me, especially, and a lot of people, that you didn't draw inspiration from him, because you did such a good job that it's like fans of the original film embrace you. So I mean that's what I've seen online. So that's why I had to ask that
Mm,
question. You definitely killed it. But we just talked to
thank you.
Fuzz on the Lens, and they talked to us about their upcoming film Stream, and I saw that you were in that. The movie sounds like it's going to be batshit crazy. What's your part in it, and what can you tell us about it?
Not sure I can talk too much about it, in the sense of what we're going to be doing and and whatnot. But I'm super looking forward to working with them. We actually met at the New Jersey HorrorCon as well, and came up to me and said, "Hey, we would like you to be in this film." They wrote it already, actually. Um, beforehand, and they said, no, we still want you to have a part in this. And so I think they did a bit of rewrites to put me in it. So yeah, looking forward to that as well. So I mean, that to me again, it was like, wait, you want me to be in a film and we just met? What are you talking about? Like, what's going on here? I don't understand. But that just goes to show what type of people they are, and the the connection that we had just by our first interaction. It was something special, and I think that we'll both carry it on for our entire careers and keep in touch and whatnot. So definitely looking forward to that, and can't wait for it.
Okay, well, one thing that they did tell us that you wouldn't be spoiling by telling us is that they told us that everything was like filmed through like computer cameras, and that it was all like done through everybody being like recorded from their camera because of like COVID. So I guess my question to you would just be, did you find that difficult, like acting through your computer?
So I haven't actually filmed it yet.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so understood. um, what's the hardest stunt or role that you've done so far? Worst experience on set. You don't have to name drop anybody, but have you had any like bad experiences or anything on set?
I think if somebody says that they haven't had a bad experience on set, I would say that they're probably lying. Um, but no, it's something that I personally don't want to talk about personally, as well as won't talk about, because that's between me and them, and it's something that it's I don't hold a grudge. I don't hold anything. It's sort of like a spur of the moment thing. If something comes up, I like to personally talk about it, and see if we can resolve the issue rather than involving other parties and whatnot, because I think that connection builds character, as well as builds a relationship. So yeah, no, I but like personally, no significant huge bad experience that would want me to go and say something bad about anything production wise, as well as actor wise, or all that stuff. It's just it's a situation. It happened. We talk about it. We let it go, and that's kind of just how I live my life as well. Like you talk to anybody, you talk to a friend, you talk to a family member, you get into an argument, you try and solve the problem. If you can't solve the problem, you wait a couple of days and you try and then you both hopefully come to a mutual agreement of saying, hey, sorry I was wrong, all right, let's move on. Yep, all right, we're good, all right, let's continue life.
Well, we appreciate you, dude. You're a very classy guy. That was a very good answer to that question.
Thank you.
Well, what can we expect to see from you in the future? Any new projects coming up other than Stream?
I'm currently working on a project that I can't say right now, but yeah, just keep keep following me, or keep up to date, and when I can let you know about my future projects, I will definitely let you know.
And where can people follow you to keep up to date with your projects?
So it's Linden Porco on Instagram, Linden Porco on Twitter, Linden Porco on TikTok, Linden Porco on Facebook. The real Linden Porco on Facebook. And that is pretty much the platforms that I'm on.
We definitely appreciate you joining us today. You did a great job in the Leprechaun Returns, and we look forward to talking to you in the future.
Sounds great. Can't wait for it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks.
You as well.
Thanks to all the horror hounds and smokers out there. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks again to Linden Porco. Linden's done such a great job just embodying the role of the Leprechaun, and I do hope we see him in future installments. I also agree with him that we need a Chucky and Lep Buddy movie. And tune in next week when we speak with, well, actually, Drew, you didn't give me that for my notes. Who are we talking to?
Well, speaking of Return of the Living Dead, which turned 36 on today, as we had spoken about. I have Freddy from Return of the Living Dead with us next week.
Freddy. I mean, Freddy to you, but to me, that's Tommy fucking Jarvis.
It's Tommy Jarvis as well, correct. That's Tom fucking Matthews. We have Tom Matthews next week.
Hell, we're getting another one for Friday the 13th, Part 6.
Fuck yeah.
Well, make sure to tune in next week where we speak with Tom Matthews, and follow us online on Facebook and Instagram at High on Horror 420 and on Twitter at High_horror. You can also reach us via email at highonhorror420@gmail.com. That'll about wrap her up. Catch yous later.
Bye, guys.